Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, continuing to slog through Lyme 5. We're in the section of Chapter 1 about abscesses, and I have to apologize again for the very poor quality of the end notes. We would just put court case numbers, but we would not put the name of the plaintiff or the defendant, which makes it very difficult to go ahead and get the sources, because I probably would be able to look a lot of these up, if nothing else, in a newspaper if I knew what people's names were. Two of the abscesses resulted in death. One of them, for some reason, I never managed to get put onto the cemetery of choice. On July 6, 1970, a woman identified as Lisa took advantage of the 6-day-old liberalization of abortion on demand in New York. During the procedure, she suffered a uterine perforation. Several days later, doctors drained and removed a dead fetus from a pelvic abscess. And a surgeon performed a hysterectomy to try to save her life, but unfortunately she died 23 days later. I've been unable to match her to any of my New York abortion deaths for 1970. I have no idea who this woman is. Then we have a confusion. The next death is Sharon, who is most likely Sharon Floyd. She was 18 when she underwent an abortion performed by John Roe 224 on April 11, 1975. 2 days later, she became ill and was admitted to a hospital where she was diagnosed with acute septicemia and abscesses, and she died on April 29th. But one of the sources Lyme 5 gives is the Chicago Sun-Times Abortion Profiteer series. And they mention a woman with the surname Floyd who underwent an abortion at Associated Concern, but they've got a different date of the abortion, a different date of death, but similar injuries. Now, Life Dynamics also cites a death certificate, and I've checked death records, and yes, a young black woman, an 18-year-old black woman named Sharon Floyd, did die in Chicago on April 29th, 1975. I don't think two women with the surname Floyd underwent abortions in 1975 in Chicago and died. So there's some confusion. If somebody can help me get a copy of her death certificate, this might be able to clear things up. But I wish I had gone through Lyme 5 bit by bit before. Then I need sources for some non-fatal cases. Adrian underwent an abortion in Chicago on May 12th of 1977. While she was in recovery, she told the nurse she was in a lot of pain. John Roe 667, who'd performed the abortion, prescribed pain pills and discharged her. Adrian called back 2 days later to say she was still in pain. Roe diagnosed a tipped uterus and told her to rest and prescribed more pain pills. 4 days later, she was still in pain, so she called the clinic, and Roe told her to meet him at the hospital. There, he told her she was hemorrhaging, prescribed antibiotics and rest, and sent her home. Finally, Adrian ended up at another hospital where she underwent a D&C. She had suffered a perforated uterus, pelvic abscess, peritonitis, and recurring infections. Now we have John Roe 747, who performed an abortion on Juana on September 13th of 1986. He realized he had perforated her uterus and bowels, so he admitted her to a hospital. On September 16th, she underwent a D&C, during which doctors found that she had an incomplete septic abortion and possibly a tubo-ovarian abscess. They transferred her to intensive care, and she underwent surgery to treat intra-abdominal sepsis and a pelvic abscess, and she was hospitalized for a total of 5 weeks. Deborah underwent an abortion in Chicago performed by John Roe 542 on October 24th, 1978. 78 or 87? I might have that backwards. Yeah, 1987. Sorry about that, dyslexia. And she had to have a colostomy and corrective surgery due to intra-abdominal abscesses. And the last one is Diona, who went to a Planned Parenthood in Philadelphia for pre-abortion testing and a gonorrhea test on August 30th in 1990. And instead of waiting for the results of the gonorrhea test, which he should have done, because you should never perform an abortion if there's any infection in there. You're going to take the vaginal infection and put it straight up into the uterus. But he didn't wait for the STD results. He just performed an abortion and discharged her. Diona called and left voicemails on September 2nd and 3rd. Wasn't able to speak to anybody. They finally returned her call on the 4th and told her since her fever was only 99.5, she should just keep taking Tylenol. They did not tell her that they had just gotten the results of her gonorrhea test and it was positive. Now, Diana's condition worsened, so on September 11th, she was admitted to a hospital and diagnosed with bilateral tubo-ovarian abscesses. So they did a laparoscopy, pelvic laparotomy, removal of adhesions, drainage of abscesses, and a D&C. And it was only after she was admitted to the hospital on September 11th that Planned Parenthood bothered to give her the results that they'd gotten on September 4th that her gonorrhea test was positive. So please follow the link below to the accompanying post, and if you can get me copies of these lawsuits, I would be thrilled, and of course I would share them with abortiondocs.org.